These are the weapons that made samurai warfare one of the most lethal fighting systems in history, and almost everything you think you know about them turns out to be wrong. The last weapon surprised me the most, so make sure to watch until the very end. That iconic curved blade, the katana, caused only 6% of battlefield casualties. The claim that Japanese swords were folded 1,000 times comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of basic math. And those deadly throwing stars you have seen in every ninja movie were primarily distraction tools, not lethal weapons. Today we are separating fact from fiction by looking at what actually made these weapons so deadly, and the truth turns out to be far more fascinating than the myths. We will start with the weapon everyone thinks they know. People have called the katana the sharpest blade ever made, claiming it can cut through gun barrels and slice tanks in half. Mythbusters tested this, and they found that a katana cannot cut through gun barrels, not even a red-hot barrel swung with machine power behind it. Plate armor, other swords, steel chains, all of these proved impossible to cut. But here is the thing. What is actually true about katanas turns out to be more impressive than those myths. Katana blades measure 60 to 80 centimeters, with an edge hardness reaching between 58 and 62 on the Rockwell scale. They weigh between 1.1 and 1.5 kilograms, which is actually comparable to European longswords despite what most people assume. Tamahagan steel forms the blade. It is forged from iron sand over 36 to 72 hours in clay furnaces. Now, about the folded 1,000 times claim, this is where everyone gets it wrong. Japanese swordsmiths folded the steel 10 to 15 times. Each fold doubles the number of layers, which means 10 folds creates 1,024 layers. Folding 1,000 times would result in more layers than there are atoms in the observable universe, making it mathematically impossible. What actually makes the katana unique is a process called differential hardening. Swordsmiths coated the blade in clay, applying it thicker on the spine and thinner on the edge, then quenched the whole piece. The edge becomes hard enough to hold an incredibly sharp angle, while the softer spine absorbs impacts without shattering. This process also creates the heiman, the distinctive wavy line running along quality blades, which is not decorative at all, but rather the visible boundary between the hard edge and the flexible spine. So how deadly was it when actually used against people? During the Edo period, swordsmiths tested blades on executed criminals, and one blade called Nanatsudo Otoshi Kanefusa reportedly cut through 7 stacked human bodies in 1681. Against flesh, bone, and the thin scales of Japanese armor, the katana proved absolutely lethal. And yet, military records from 1563 to 1638 reveal something surprising: 6%. That is all the casualties swords caused on the battlefield. Which raises an obvious question: what weapons were actually doing the killing? ID RS-01 FAD 5DF9E9B5 AA30975 FACBD5F48 1928 FD2302 DQ5 BAF3C53. Summary: type, reasoning. Popular culture has done more damage to these weapons' reputations than any enemy army ever could. Consider the shuriken, the throwing star that appears in every ninja film ever made. The first documented shuriken school was not founded until sometime between 1625 and 1644. Spike-shaped bow shuriken measured 12 to 21 centimeters and weighed just 35 to 150 grams, with an effective accuracy range of only 10 to 20 feet. Here is what movies never show you. Shuriken were not designed as killing weapons at all. Their actual purposes included distraction and disruption, creating openings for sword attacks, covering retreats, and targeting exposed areas like eyes and hands. Some practitioners coated them with poison or feces to cause infection. 18 traditional schools taught shuriken jutsu, but almost always as a final secret teaching, meaning they were supplements to primary weapons rather than replacements for them. The kusarigama, that sickle and chain combination, has suffered even worse distortion. Martial arts historian Ellis Amdur documented that the weapon's association with ninjas was invented in the 1960s, not feudal Japan. Actual chains measured only 1.5 to 2 meters, far shorter than fiction depicts, and there is no documented battlefield use whatsoever because the swinging chain posed too much danger to allies in formation. Dueling was its only practical application, and even then it had fatal weaknesses. Yamada Shinryukan, a famous practitioner, fell when an opponent lured him into a bamboo grove where vegetation prevented his chain from swinging. Another kusarigama expert named Shishido Baiken died fighting Miyamoto Musashi, who simply threw a knife from outside the chain's range. The tessen, or war fan, turned out to be more practical than either of these exotic weapons. Craftsmen made them with heavy iron spokes or solid steel, and samurai carried them as concealed weapons into places where swords were forbidden. One incident at the Fourth Battle of Kawanakajima in 1561 shows just how effective a tessen could be. Uesugi Kenshin burst into Takeda Shingen's command tent on horseback and slashed with his sword, but Shingen, still seated, parried with his iron war fan. 7 cuts. That is what inspectors found on Shingen's fan according to the Chronicle Koyogunkan, making it one of the most celebrated single combat incidents in samurai history. Modern testing has finally revealed the truth about Japanese steel, and the results challenge centuries of mythology. Knife steel nerds published detailed scientific analysis of traditional tamahagani in 2025, and their conclusion was clear. Performance proved comparable to modern carbon steels, not superior to them. Ancient tamahagani contained significantly higher inclusion content than modern steel, and while folding helped mitigate this problem, historical blades were not the superhuman cutting machines that legends describe. Comparing the katana to its European counterpart exposes interesting trade-offs. Katana edges rank harder, 58 to 62 on the Rockwell scale, versus the longsword's 50 to 54, but that lower hardness gave European blades greater toughness and resistance to chipping. Single-edged katanas offer 8 attack lines, while double-edged longswords provide 16, plus techniques like half-swording that Japanese swords cannot replicate. ARMA, the Association for Renaissance Martial Arts, put it simply: neither weapon could be called better because they serve different purposes with equal success. Masamune, the greatest swordsmith in Japanese history, worked from approximately 1264 to 1343. Masamune's legacy is fragile. Only about 6 verified blades bearing his mark survive today. His most famous creation, the Honjo Masamune, served as the symbol of Tokugawa rule for 260 years before vanishing after World War II, when it was surrendered to an unknown American serviceman and lost forever. 62 duels without a single defeat. That was Miyamoto Musashi's record, making him the most famous warrior of his era. 7 days before dying in 1645, he finished writing his Book of Five Rings, which included this observation: you should not have any special fondness for a particular weapon, or anything else for that matter, because too much is the same as not enough. Everything we've covered points to the same conclusion about these deadly samurai weapons. The katana served as a backup weapon that caused 6% of battlefield casualties, while spears accounted for 21%, and bows reached up to 87%, doing most of the actual killing. The claim that katanas were folded 1,000 times comes from mathematical confusion, since 10 to 15 folds was standard practice. Shuriken functioned as distraction tools, and the kusarigama left no documented battlefield use. Supernatural sharpness and magical folding did not make samurai weapons deadly. Sophisticated metallurgy did, along with intelligent design matched to tactical needs, and centuries of refinement by smiths who treated their work as sacred art. These weapons were tools, lethal and elegant and historically significant, but tools all the same. The real question was never which weapon proved deadliest, but rather which warrior knew how to use what they carried. Musashi's words still hold up after 4 centuries. You should not have special fondness for a particular weapon, because too much is the same as not enough. That practical wisdom represents the true legacy of samurai warfare.